Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Wynna Wong. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Hong Kong's daily COVID caseload falls below 6,000 for the first time in 6 weeks. A ban on incoming flights from 9 countries is lifted. And Shanghai begins the second phase of a lockdown. Health authorities are keeping a close eye on new COVID variants that have emerged in countries including Britain and the United States. This came as new cases in Hong Kong dropped below 6,000. COVID numbers in Hong Kong continued their downward trend, dropping to 5,823, with only 3 imported cases. Health authorities were asked about the new highly transmissible variants that have emerged in countries such as the United States and Britain.
The transmissibility and the severity of this new recombinant variant is still being investigated. So we will closely monitor the latest situation. And according to the local monitoring, we understand from Hong Kong news team that there have been 2 travelers with recombinant BA1 and BA2, the so-called XE recombinant variant, have been found among travelers in early February, among 2 travelers who are detected in the airport. And they have been isolated and treated, and there have been no other similar variant detected locally.
Officials reported an additional 96 deaths in the past 24 hours. The youngest was a triple-jabbed 38-year-old man with a history of mental illness. Authorities say he became emotionally distressed when a self-administered rapid test came back positive last month. He showed signs of self-harm when he was admitted to Princess Margaret Hospital, with injuries on his arms and chest. The man's condition worsened over the following weeks. He was admitted to the intensive care unit with severe pneumonia and pulmonary embolism and died yesterday. Hong Kong residents have been flying back to the city following the lifting of a ban on flights from 9 countries. The arrivals included foreign domestic helpers. Maisie Mock reports.
A Cebu Pacific airplane from Manila was the first to land this morning after Hong Kong lifted a ban on flights from 9 countries, including Britain and the United States. The ban was imposed 3 months ago in a bid to keep out the Omicron COVID variants. Most of those flying in today were vaccinated Hong Kong residents stranded abroad since January, but many domestic helpers were on the flights from the Philippines. A student from the Philippines was on the first flight.
I've been waiting for the entire 2022 so far. I had planned to come here December of last year, but has been delayed until now. I feel anxious, but I feel really happy. I get to see faces I haven't seen in a long time.
Many domestic workers had to wait for months before being able to come here.
Now I'm happy because I'm here already to work.
The head of an employment agency welcomed the lifting of the flight ban, but is worried that airlines can still be banned on specific routes if 3 or more passengers on a flight are found to be infected.
We have a backlog of over 300 helpers who need to come in. We're hoping to bring many of them in May, essentially. But again, there are limitations, a number of flights that are available now. And our hope is that once this rule is hopefully rescinded, there will be more flights available and we can get more of our helpers in.
Arrivals have to take a PCR test at the airport and be quarantined in a hotel for 7 days. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
COVID cases remain high in Shanghai, where a snap lockdown entered its second phase. The mainland financial hub reported over 4,100 asymptomatic infections and 358 cases with symptoms yesterday. Over half were in the Pudong New area, which has been isolated since Monday for mass testing. The measures have now been extended to cover the 16 million residents in Puxi, west of the Huangpu River, until Tuesday. The lockdown forced staff of many banks and investment firms to camp out at their workplace. National health authorities vowed to stick to the dynamic zero strategy, dashing hopes of reopening in the near future. More local news. Chief Executive Carrie Lam is reported to have gone to Shenzhen to meet officials from the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office. Sources say she held talks with Office Director Xiao Baolong to discuss anti-epidemic work and the chief executive election next month. Nominations for Hong Kong's top job open on Sunday. Lam has not indicated whether she plans to seek a second term and did not comment on the reports of the Shenzhen visit. A fire in a high-rise building in Yau Ma Tei has injured 4 people, including 2 who fell from the 6th floor. Firefighters said their efforts were hampered because the buildings did not have fire safety facilities. Johanna Chan reports.
Flames engulfed a subdivided flat at around 7:30 this morning as firefighters scrambled to put out the fire on the 6th floor of a building on Temple Street. A man and a woman in their 30s living in a unit on the same floor lost their footing as they climbed out of their window in a bid to escape. The woman suffered bone fractures in her right arm and leg, while the man hurt his back. Another man and a woman who lived in the flat engulfed by the fire suffered from burns on their backs. All 4 victims were conscious when they were taken to Kwong Wah and Queen Mary hospitals. Over 30 other residents in the Yau Ma Tei building escaped to safety on their own. Many of them said they ran out into the street after hearing shouts this morning. Police believe the fire may have been caused by a leak from an electric scooter, which they took away as evidence. Senior station officer Wu Chunho said firefighters faced difficulty as the stairway was narrow and was blocked by some items. He added that the building was constructed in 1965, but still lacked fire safety facilities. Under the Fire Safety Ordinance, buildings constructed before March 1987 must have updated fire safety measures. The Fire Services Department will follow up on whether there was a breach of rules. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
5 people have been arrested on suspicion of recruiting more than 10 young girls as prostitutes. Police confiscated cash, phones, and perfume and rescued 4 girls, one of whom was a missing person. 3 men and 2 women were detained. The syndicate recruited girls by making friends with them on social media and giving them presents to gain their trust. The gang used fancy cars to take the girls to hotels to meet customers who paid up to $20,000, but the girls were given as little as $100. Overseas now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned of an intense offensive in the southeast of the country. This came as Moscow claimed that 2 Ukrainian helicopters attacked an oil depot in a Russian border city. Sarah Wong reports.
Ukrainian soldiers and volunteers have been mounting a rigorous defense since Russia invaded their homeland more than 1 month ago. Now, bolstered by Western military assistance, Ukraine has begun to switch gears in its maneuvers. Russia claimed that 2 Ukrainian helicopters crossed the border and struck an oil facility in the city of Belgorod, not far from Kharkiv. 8 oil fuel tanks were said to be burning, injuring at least 2 workers and forcing the evacuation of residents. If confirmed, that would be the first attack launched by Ukraine on Russian soil since Moscow began its military operation. In another development, Russian forces were reportedly leaving the Chernobyl nuclear facility they captured 5 weeks ago and heading for Belarus. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned of intensifying attacks on the besieged port city of Mariupol and the breakaway region of Donbass. Without making significant military breakthroughs, the Kremlin is coming under more pressure. In a virtual summit, the European Union is expected to keep pressing China not to go to Moscow's aid. Sarah Wong, HKIBC.
Police in Sri Lanka have fired tear gas to disperse protesters outraged by the lack of essential supplies and daily blackouts. The furious crowd was confronted by armed police as they tried to storm the residence of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in the capital, Colombo. Several people were injured in clashes, while dozens of protesters were arrested. The demonstrators demanded Rajapaksa's resignation as the island nation grappled with its worst economic crisis in decades. The president blamed COVID for the problems, but critics accused his government of mismanagement and nepotism. European countries have rejected Russia's demands that they use rubles to pay for their energy imports.
We are convinced contracts are contracts. The contracts are based on euro, and so we will continue to pay for energy imports in euro.
Germany accused Moscow of blackmail for threatening to cut off energy supplies if the ruble is not used for payment. Fuel prices have surged since the United States banned Russian oil to punish Moscow for invading Ukraine. In a bid to lower prices, U.S. President Joe Biden is releasing 180 million barrels of oil from American reserves. His order led to American crude dropping just below $100 US a barrel, while Brent crude fell to $105. Trading in the shares of more than 30 companies was suspended in Hong Kong today because of a delay in reporting their annual results. Firms affected included mainland developers Sunac, Shimao, and Kaisa. Baidu led tech stocks lower amid renewed concerns over mainland firms being delisted in the United States over audit disputes. The search engine lost 4.5%. Both China and the U.S. have indicated that they want to resolve the audit row. We'll look at the markets now. The Hang Seng Index closed up 42 points. Top 10 active stocks, Tencent is up $4.60, Alibaba up $2.40. Hong Kong Exchange is down $4.40, AIA down 60 cents. To foreign exchange rates, it's 8.66 to the euro and 10.29 to the pound sterling. In foreign markets, the UK FTSE is up 27 points. The population of the endangered Blackfaced Spoonbill has grown to over 6,000 worldwide, the highest recorded number. The Hong Kong Bird Watching Society found an 18% increase from last year after collecting data from several places, including Deep Bay between Shenzhen and Hong Kong, South Korea, and Taiwan. In Deep Bay, the spoonbill population grew to 369. The society is hoping that spoonbills will be taken off the endangered species list as their numbers continue to grow. A look at the weather before we go. Brace for a rather cool morning tomorrow with a few rain patches. Temperatures will range between 13 and 16 degrees. The mercury will rebound on Sunday ahead of a fine and dry week. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. And that's our main news for Friday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Wynna Wong. Good night.